Hi, I'm Bob Kraus. I'm president of the Veterans National Recovery Center, and this is the second episode I have with Sergeant First Class Tiffany Griffin, who has been a SHARP coordinator, that's Sexual Harassment Assault Response
Prevention.
Prevention Coordinator for the Army. She's been doing this for about 5 years now, and she is going to be deployed in just a couple of days over to a point unknown. But we're talking to her about her primary role, which is SHARP. How do you process when somebody gets raped or assaulted in the military, male or female? How do you protect that person? How do you get that person standing tall? And one of the things that seems to come up the most often when I talk to people is the fear that this is a showstopper for your career. If it's a showstopper, nobody's going to talk. So, is it a showstopper, Tiffany, when they come to you or when they report the rape or the incident, and and you are referred, the command calls you, and you come in, and you set this record up? What does that soldier have to look forward to? Is that going to kill a career?
No, Bob, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
No.
Oh, okay, well, tell me why. How does it work?
Uh, the way it works is the soldier will first elect a reporting option. Depending on that option, there will be an official investigation to determine if the case is founded or unfounded. But the soldier's career is never impacted. What I can say from experience is we've had soldiers mobilized going even through the investigation process and even after the investigation process that have even been successful and have deployed.
That's a monster change from what it was just a few years ago when we started to talk about
Yes.
this. And I know of a woman that worked for me when I was in the military, and she had PTSD, not MST related, but PTSD, and she never told anybody because she was afraid that she'd go in for promotion boards, it would show up in the packet, and she'd be out. But that is not the case.
No, not no more.
Times have changed since the laws were adjusted so to encourage reporting by victims, and so we've got this situation, but it's still got a report. A process has to happen because the injury has occurred. The man or the woman has been raped, and you've got a situation where that has to be documented in some ways for a couple of reasons. For short-term medical, I understand. For long-term medical, and for VA disability eventually. So tell me a little bit about that. What are the biggest problems you run into when you're working with a victim?
I would say one of my biggest problems that I have would be the medical aspect of it. A lot of soldiers are showing that they're more willing to come forward now to actually file a sexual assault.
Mm-hmm.
However, they will go receive initial care, but we never receive a diagnosis to be able to continue that long-term care for their career and or for when they get out of the military.
So how do you try to push it forward, and how do other factors try to push it back? What happens?
Well, all that I can do as the coordinator and the victim advocates assigned to the case is just encourage. We try to find the best places in their area, whether that's the VA or a vet center or just a local therapist, depending on where they're at. We'll do all the legwork for them, and all we can do is just encourage them.
But they've got to fill out the form.
Right.
It sounds a little odd, but I've had people in that boat that they couldn't they couldn't fill out a parking ticket. And it's because of the anxieties they get. They might be writing and it'll bring back things, and then they'll pull back from the paper and walk away. Are there buddy systems or anything like that can help on this?
Well, if a soldier does I guess we'll look back up. If a victim of sexual assault does want their assigned VA to attend their counseling sessions with them, then the military will absolutely support that, and will ensure that all the costs are covered if that victim advocate has to drive a distance. Being in the reserves, we're not always geographically the best located. We'll always make sure that's paid for, and that they have that support with them. But we can't really force that soldier to turn in their medical documents or to sign a medical release, so we can receive it.
So the consequence is what you're saying, and this is the consequence of not cooperating with the SHARP coordinator if you are a victim. The consequence is that you'll get the short-term medical help. The rape kit will be created, but not processed unless the case goes forward. And there will be no long-term help because there's no authority to help long-term with MST counseling or other medical injuries unless they fill out the permanent line of duty statement. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so there's a lot riding on this. If you're a young man or a young woman or an old man or an old woman and something bad like this happens to you, you may be looking at a lifetime of counseling or a lifetime of physical things that occur. Either you can pay for them or the government can pay for them. And if you don't fill out the paperwork, unfortunately, the way the system works, you might have to pay for them. So, warning, warning, warning. That's what you need. Anything else that is a problem for you, Tiffany, when you run into these things?
I think that's really my biggest problem. The next problem or concern I would have is just uncooperative victims. They will initially come forward, and then I may not hear from them for a month or two or maybe more. And a couple phone calls, emails, texts. We don't harass them either. We just wait for them to come back to us, which eventually they typically always do. They always have, when they're ready. So we do everything on their time.
So lesson 2 is that be you in the Army Reserve, the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, whatever service you are in, the SHARP coordinator is your friend if you are a rape or sexual assault victim. And you need to be proactive, contacting that person and keeping up the connection. Otherwise, you may lose valuable health care, and it may cost you in ways that you do not even see. This is Bob Kraus, president of the Veterans National Recovery Center, and I'd like to thank you, Tiffany, for all this great information that you've been giving us. This is the second episode. We'll have one more episode with Tiffany before she goes someplace that we can't tell. Thank you very much.